Hey, Frederick Douglass here. I bet you thought I'd be kind of dumb, didn't you? Well, I'm here to prove you that you're wrong.
Frederick Douglass was a former African American slave that escaped north and became a leader in the abolitionist movement. He pushed this movement of equality until he unfortunately died in 1895.
Thank you for making my book the second bestseller of the year.
Uncle Tom's Cabin by Harriet Beecher Stowe was a fictional novel describing the life of a slave named Tom who was moved to 3 different plantations. He was treated differently on each plantation and relayed the message that the institution of slavery was so bad itself that it could make good people do bad things. The election of 1860 was one of the closest elections in U.S. history, especially in Virginia, which ended in Abraham Lincoln winning the election. The election of Lincoln instead of Stephen A. Douglas or John C. Breckinridge led to an even bigger divide between the slave states and the free states. For this skit, I decided to just not put in the video because it was so bad, but here's a little clip of what we did.
Slavery's so bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, so here's what the Grimke sisters actually did. The Grimke sisters were 2 wealthy Americans that pushed for abolition and women's rights. Nobody really listened to them since their family were slave owners themselves, but this partially sparked the movement for abolishing slavery.
Disrespect my granddaddy.
Charles Sumner, a senator from Massachusetts, started insulting Southerners to impact the vote. He called slavery supporters hirelings picked from the drunken spew and vomit of an uneasy civilization. This did not go over well with a South Carolina congressman named Preston Brooks, who after hearing this went into the Senate and started beating him with a cane.
Makes calling pigs so much easier.
The cotton gin made by Eli Whitney revolutionized the production of cotton. This machine would increase the rate of picking seeds from cotton with not as much people working, which led to more people picking the cotton instead of picking the seeds. This made slavery even more popular in the South.
To the artillery! Charge!
The raid on Harper's Ferry Arsenal was a failed attempt by John Brown, who wanted to supply slaves with guns from the arsenal to revolt against slave owners.
We're safe, guys.
The Underground Railroad was a series of pathways and stops that led slaves from the south to the north.
We gotta kill these slave lovers. Let's go.
Fighting broke out in Kansas since they could not decide whether to be a free or slave state. John Brown took his family and supporters to Kansas and killed 5 pro-slavery men. These acts of fighting in Kansas led to the name of Bleeding Kansas.
Have you seen my slave anywhere? Oh, never seen a slave. Oh, well, thanks for looking. No problem, thanks.
The Fugitive Slave Law was written with the intent to return runaway slaves. No one really did this in the North because everyone either did not care or was against slavery.
Slave trade, we got slave. Hey, man, I could use a slave. Well, let me think. Here you go, safest. Thank you, Billy. Good day, sir. Matt, I hate it here. We gotta get out of here. We do gotta get out of here, yes, sir. How are we gonna do it? Well, we're just gonna start running. Let's go. Start running, boys. Let's go.
Nat Turner's Rebellion was a slave rebellion in Virginia that resulted in the death of 51 white people. This rebellion would soon spark the revolution against slavery.
I'm working on a farm, doing no harm. Gonna go home and build some yard.
Negro spirituals were basically songs made by the slaves that included secret messages and bad messages about the slave owners. Some songs that were created by the slaves were Sweet Chariot, Go Down Moses, and Michael Rowed the Boat Ashore.
Slavery is bad. Slavery is bad. Slavery is bad.
The purpose for the Missouri Compromise was to keep the balance between slave and free states. It allowed Missouri to be a slave state, but Maine be entered as a free state.